A blessing does not always appear as a blessing. Sometimes the blessing is something we have to just figure out. Hi, this is Barry Phillips with 10-Minute Torah, day number 4, the Torah portion via key. So let's look now in the book of Bereshith, Genesis, chapter number 49, and read the first 2 verses. And Yaakov called his sons and said, "Gather together so that I declare to you what is to befall you in the last days. Gather together and hear, you sons of Yaakov, and listen to Israel, your father," Israel being the more spiritually identified part of him. So he is making known to them, I'm getting ready to prophesy to you about the last days. A couple things we should understand here just to begin laying a foundation. Number one is what is to be realized in the words that follow take place as they are gathered together. What is spoken to me and what is spoken to you should not find its fulfillment necessarily in isolated incidences, but rather it is most powerfully realized when we walk together. So I may have a prophecy, you may have a prophecy, and we're just waiting on it to happen to us individually, and Yah is saying, no, it will happen to you collectively. Secondly, let's understand then that is for the last days. What was being spoke to these sons did not necessarily take place in their day. Yah may be waiting to bring it to pass in our day. Certainly, I believe that we are living in the last days or at the threshold of the last days. I do believe we are coming down to the last portions of time before the coming of the kingdom of Yeshua. And rightly so, we should think of things as that. Let's understand then about blessing. Blessings do not always show up with a banner over our head and flashing lights saying, blessing, blessing, blessing. Sometimes we hear the words blessing in disguise. So we miss our plane, only to hear later on that the plane had problems. It had to be diverted to a different landing for some reason. Yah forbid it crashed of some sort. We get delayed leaving the house and then realize that if I had left when I intended, I would have been involved in that accident or this situation. It's a good thing I was delayed. We turned down or are turned down for one particular job only in the next few days to receive a better offer than what we turned down. Blessings in disguise. We don't always see them as such. Sometimes there are blessings that take place and we fail to see them at all. It's only in retrospect that we look back and say, wow, what a blessing that was that things turned out the way that they did. That was out of my control, and there I was panicking about it, but it turned out better. So there's also then this aspect of we need each other for blessings. While here in America in particular, we tend to see blessings in the category of numbers, such as in our bank account and materialistic increase. That's actually a very bad understanding. There is abundance, there is financial prosperity that Yah does indeed give to his people. But more often than not, I think that blessings show up in the form of increased health. If you're walking in health and in strength and rightness of mind, clarity of thought, what a blessing. If you have the ability to look at Scripture and a text that you've seen many, many times suddenly jumps off the page and there is a fresh insight and Yah is revealing something to you, that is indeed a blessing. Being able to share together by either gathering as a congregation or making phone calls, emails, however you communicate, and you receive mutual edification from someone. What a blessing. For many, just to be able to have someone to talk to is an extreme blessing. Those of us who live where there is a community of believers close by, even if it's an hour or so drive between us, those of us who have prayer groups that we meet online with and we share together, we fail to realize that there are many that are isolated. I can think of a number of couples and individuals who live in isolation. There's no one else around that believes as they do, who seeks to walk according to the commands, who keeps the feast days, observes Shabbat. They may be the only home in an entire area, an entire region that is observing Shabbat. And the rest of that region doesn't understand what a blessing it is to have a Shabbat guarder, keeper, that adds an effect of Yah's favor on our region, and they don't even know about it. What a blessing. So Ralbag, an ancient rabbi, says that blessings are not like possessions which have an objective value independent of their bearers. Rather, a blessing is defined by what a person makes of it. Leads me to a whole different vein of thinking here. Blessings in disguise, yes, but sometimes blessings fail to be fully realized because we think, well, I'm blessed. I have this prophetic blessing pronounced over me. Yah's given me a scripture and says to me, this is about you, this is for you. And we sit back and we fold our arms and say, well, let's just see how this turns out. And we wait for the manifestation and the evidence and the fruitfulness of whatever the blessing is announced to be. Blessings oftentimes are what you make of them. When we read the words that Yaakov, Israel in particular here, speaks over his sons, to some like Yehuda and to Joseph, he gives a lengthy discourse. He shares a lot of different information. To other sons, it's a line or two. It's just a thought. Does that mean that Yah doesn't love one as much as he loves the other? No, to those who have a larger role to play, they need more instruction. But it is in the combination of all of these men receiving the understanding of what it is that Yah is saying to them and walking in that the fullness of the blessing of the Am Israel, the community of Israel, begins to be realized. And so we read these cryptic words and we wonder, what can they mean? There are times that people come to us and say, the Father sent me to say this to you, and they give us a cryptic message, and we scratch our heads and think they must have eaten too much pizza or something. That certainly can't be correct. But Yah speaks to us sometimes and gives to us a word of knowledge or a blessing, a prophetic announcement, and we need to develop it. We need to seek Him in it. Yah positions Himself sometimes from us just with His hands out a few steps ahead and is beckoning us. Come seek me over it. Come talk to me about it. You don't understand? Well and good. Now pray. Call on me so that I can explain what it is that I mean. I've often heard Yah speak to me and I run off thinking I have the full understanding of what it is that He has said, only later to readdress it with Him and say, what did you mean? Because what I've done with what you said hasn't turned out so well. Only to find out I didn't fully understand what was being communicated to me. I'd used my own interpretation instead of waiting for the Ruach to give me what was the right interpretation. Patience, prayerfulness, seeking Him, and blessing sometimes shows up as a word or a seed or a thought, a prophecy. And Yah is saying to us, now seek me for what it means. Walk with me and I'll show you how to see it produce. And it takes time. Blessings are not always realized in an immediacy. It takes a season. May you be faithful in your season. May the Father bless you and keep you. May the Father rise up and call you blessed. May Yah cause His hand of favor to be placed upon you. And may you walk in that favor, that blessing today. And I'll see you again tomorrow. To then, shalom.